Hi, this is Joe. I'm from RMT. So today we are so happy to have David to join our interview to talk about social media. David, can you introduce yourself?
Yep, my name's David Mackay. I'm an RMIT student counsellor. I've been here since about 2012, casually, about 3 days a week, and out of Bundoora. And before that I was counselling in TAFE and at the CAE, and I've had a private practice as a psychologist as well.
So can I ask something more personal, how
Sure.
have social media how social media affect you, or what type of social media user are you?
Well, as you can see, I'm a bit older than you, and so for me social media has entered my life when I've done a lot of things in my life, and I don't use it to make friends. I've got plenty of friends already, so I just use it sometimes. I use Facebook to keep in touch with a group that I belong to. So people will post an event and say, who wants to come? And I'll say, yeah, I'm coming, and that sort of thing. So it's useful for me in that way. And sometimes people will say, who wants to do this? And so you can use it to, if a whole lot of people say, yeah, I want to do that, then they'll say, okay, we'll set up that event. So for me, it's a tool. So I don't really care if people respond to things I put out. I don't put much out. I don't spend much time there.
So you have your own life in reality. You don't really care about your life in social media.
Well, my life in reality is too full. I haven't got enough time to follow other people. I'm not that interested, right?
Would it be also because you have so long experience for counseling? Is there any students have counseling about how they use social media or such kind of things? Do you talk about such kind of topic with your students?
Occasionally, they feel that they have an addiction. So I haven't had a lot, but I've had a few, and they'd be staying up all night. Find it difficult to stop doing it, but it's similar. Before that, we've had students with video game addictions. We've had students with gambling addictions. We've had students with porn addictions. We've had students with other drug addictions too. So the thing they all have in common is it's a dopamine hit. So if you get your thrill from gambling, when it lights up, you get this big hit. And same with some people when they're checking their likes, or when they're checking, has anyone replied to my post, or all that sort of stuff. Some people get a big pleasure hit from that.
Oh, wow.
And if they're not getting pleasure hits from asking a girl out or asking a guy out, then the pleasure hits from Facebook seems significant.
Oh my God.
But if they're getting pleasure hits in the real world, then the hits you get on Facebook, they're just something. They're not fantastic. But if you're isolated, and if you're not getting pleasure in other activities, then you can really value the social media stuff.
Sure. Because you mentioned about porn addiction or gambling addiction, will it be students or people actually they are less likely to find their addiction to social media rather than other kind of addiction? Because gambling, you will maybe you'll realize it when you lost a large amount of money, but for social media, because everyone is doing the same thing, would it be less
obvious?
Less obvious, yeah,
that's right. So in a capitalist society, you have companies trying to make money, and if you only use the thing once, they're not going to make a lot of money. But if you use it more and more, they make more money. So if that's a product, they want you to go to Yochi, or they want you to go to Grilled, or they want you to go to Macca's and use their product regularly. But if it's Facebook, we know that they don't actually get money from us, but they sell our data to advertisers. So the more hits, the more activity they get, the more they have to sell to advertisers. So they set up the platform where some people will become addicted, just like Crown Casino and some of the clubs that have poker machines, they set up platforms where people who may become addicted can go in and find something that gives them a thrill. But see, most people don't get addicted to poker machines. Only some people do. Why is it those people? Often it's because they're not getting their needs met in other ways. Or they like sitting next to someone and they can have a chat to someone while they're playing the machine. Whereas with social media it's different, isn't it? Because often you're at home doing it on your own.
So is there any symptoms that like can people recognize if they really overactive or overspending time on social media? Or is there anything, because like maybe some people they can't really realize that they're overspending time on the platform?
I think if you live with other people, if you find yourself arguing about it, so if parents or housemates say, hey, come and join us, come and have tea, or come and play this game, or hey, let's have a talk, and you say, oh, no, not now, and if you end up arguing about it, then maybe someone's got a problem, if it happens regularly. And if you're on your own, if you find yourself not getting enough sleep, that's a good indicator. And if you reduce activities, if you reduce your social activities or your sport, or if you cut back on things that used to be good for you, then that's worth thinking about. Maybe I was putting too much time into the social media.
So like so do you have any like advice like for our audience, like actually is there any standards for like how much time they should spend on social media, maybe like per day, or like, and also like how often or how they should use social media?
Well, one American study suggested, and it was looking at screen time, not just social media, but it was looking at all screen time, except for study purposes, and they said people had zero screen time were not as happy as people who had 30 minutes. So your happiness goes up if you're using phones and screens up to 30 minutes. But then once you get to an hour, you level with the people who don't use it. So you're not as happy as the ones using it at 30 minutes. And then the more it increases, the more that these kids' happiness was going down. So after an hour, there's a direct proportion between the amount of time on screens and rising unhappiness. So 30 minutes a day from that study, that's optimal. Okay, because you're probably connecting with people, and making things happen and making arrangements. But so you feel guilt-free about your first 30 minutes, and then after that, think about, well, what am I doing with this? Is it for a good purpose?
Would it be also like social media can help people to access to other groups of people who actually couldn't have chance to meet in the real life? Would it also can be positive?
Sure. Look, they're just tools. It's how you use them. And if you use it, like I had a client here who had a particular disease, very rare. She felt very alone. She had no energy, couldn't go out, and she found other people who had that disease and got in touch with them and talked to them about what it's like, and some of them are in other countries. There's only a few in Australia, so that was great. So it's how you use it. So if you're using it to try and make yourself feel good, that's probably not the first place I would go. I'd probably try and do something in the real world to feel good. But if you have a specific need and you can go looking, then and I mean, people in Melbourne do meetups. Where they just meet up, have dinner with a bunch of people, talk. Maybe they make a friend, maybe they don't. But there's no danger. It's just having fun. And like dating online, stuff like that. It seems easier. I mean, when I was young, we were supposed to go out somewhere and dance with people, or some people would go and get drunk and just start talking to strangers. And whereas meeting people online seems like an okay way to do it.
Yeah.
But probably the main thing is to set limits.
Yeah.
And, don't keep hunting for, looking for something that makes you feel valuable or good about yourself online. Because it's not as reliable as people, I think.
Yeah. How would you encourage people to take a break from the social media? Like, what if some of the students may come to you like I want to have sometimes I know I'm addicted, I'm overspend too much time, but I couldn't get myself out of social media. What kind of advice will you give them to stay away maybe for a while from the social media or from internet?
Well, I asked them, what kind of needs do you think it's meeting for you? So if they say, oh look, I just get really bored studying and I find it much more interesting. Oh, okay. But if they've said they're addicted to it, then you might say, well, okay, is there anything else that you would find interesting when you get bored with study that you could do? So you'd be looking at the need, whereas if the need is, oh look, I feel really isolated here in Australia, I come from Singapore and I've come over here and my friends are all back there and I'm missing out on all their conversations and the social life and I'm chatting away with them, then I'd probably say, well, have you tried meeting people here? Is there a Singapore Students Club at RMIT? Have you been to in orientation week? Did you go to the clubs? What do you like doing? So try and find, not just say don't do it, but look at what needs it was meeting and can you meet them some other way. So they might reduce what they're doing rather than have to stop. But if someone just felt really addicted and said, look, how can I stop? Well, some people have formed pacts with friends, and some families do this, where they just turn off social media on the weekend. Some families all put their phones in a cupboard for the weekend, say, okay, we're just going to be a family this weekend.
So not allowed to touch it.
Yeah. So people try different things. So sometimes putting your phone away somewhere out of reach and just saying, okay, I'm going to have this evening without it and just see what I do. So start small. Don't start too big. Just start small and see how you feel. Because you want to be successful. Don't you?
And also, like I think you also mentioned about a really good point. Like there's so many international students in Australia. They will have problems like that. All of their friends and families are being overseas. They feel lonely, and is that also like? Is there any? Do you realize that is the problems may be more serious for international students to be addictive in social media?
Oh, look, I think the first problem that foreign students who don't know other people in Melbourne have is just feeling isolated. And most students who come here underestimate how different the culture is. So it's a bit of a shock at first to find these Anglo people who don't talk to you so much, or maybe aren't so friendly, or there's even a few racist people in Melbourne, So it can be difficult, can't it? So
and it's about language, right?
Most students seem to be able to speak English, reasonably well. But it's the isolation, I think. It's really great if you've got some friends here when you come, but the ones who are isolated, some of them do spend a bit of time on the phone and on other media talking to people back home. And I think at some point that the amount of time spent doing that becomes unhelpful because they're not getting out the door and making new friends here. Even join the badminton club or the table tennis club at uni.
So better for them, better to open themselves to to the new community in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Meet a few people who are different from you. Find out how to be friends with them. Just try things with your fellow students or in the clubs here, or join a meetup in Melbourne somewhere.
Besides these questions, like if you have anything you can think of you want to talk about in regard to this topic.
Yeah, look, I went to a symposium where there was an American professor who's written a book about this, but it's more about screen use, and she's written a book. It's called iGen. Why today's super connected kids are growing up less rebellious, more tolerant, less happy, and completely unprepared for adulthood.
Yeah.
So her name's Professor Jean Twenge, and she points out that back in, and this is based on surveys in the US, back in '76, you were, by the time you're in year 12, you were more likely to have got your driving license than in 16, back in '76. So 40 years ago, 90% had their driving license, only 70% now. Had they tried alcohol? Yes. In '76, 93% had tried alcohol, but now only 60%.
Wow.
Were they dating? Back then, 85%, now only 53% are dating. So they're becoming less adventurous.
Yeah.
So the more time you spend on screens, the less time you're asking girls or guys out, or drinking alcohol, or learning to drive your car.
That's what we should do in our teenage, right?
Yeah, or getting a job, or having sex, or going out without your parents. Even 2.9 times a week in '76, going out without your parents. Less, 2.2 times a week now. Okay. So kids who are growing up with this stuff, and it all increased in 2011, 2012 when the iPhone hit 50% of coverage in America. So once everyone had a smartphone, young people started getting less happy, more depressed, more anxious, and even more suicidal thoughts. And this is just the early days. Hopefully we'll get better at dealing with smartphones as a society. But just that first fascination, people stopped doing other things.
And they stopped.
Or not stopped, but they reduced it. Yeah, stopped exploring and taking risks. Well, not stopped, I shouldn't say that, reduced.
Yeah,
Did less of that. But just maybe to finish with, if it's interfering with your sleep or your social or health-giving sporting activities, then it's a problem. If it's not interfering with, if you've still got a full life, then it's probably not a problem.
So actually people, like, social media is not really negative, it depends on how we use it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So thank you for your time, and
Cool.
we have a really great conversation.
Good.